Okay, to start off our afternoon session, I have the privilege of introducing a great colleague of mine and also a very good friend, Shannon Ramsay. She's the founding executive director of Trees Forever, that has a statewide group throughout Iowa. In the more recent years, they've gone to Wisconsin and a couple of other states too. More importantly, not only she has some of the most innovative roadside and rain garden and energy-saving programs in the United States, but her voice at the national level is heard and listened to by everybody. Correct, Mr. Hubbard? Yes, okay, good. Right. She been the president of the board of directors of the U.S. Forest Service Advisory Council to the chief of the U.S. Forest Service, and actually several other roles. But Dr. Greg McPherson and I know her best. She gave us a call last year and said, let's do RAGBRAI together. Let's ride our bicycles across Iowa. And thus we did, for quite a journey indeed. She's also renowned, has produced and written a very renowned 6-part video on sacred trees, following our native voices in cultural and historical perspective of trees, which I think she might even mention how you may be able to have an opportunity to see it, to view it, excuse me. So, to no further ado, she's also brought health to the, I talk about a national platform. She's brought the health agenda to the urban forestry community just as much as the Sacramento Tree Foundation did. You can imagine that without somebody like Desiree Backman to push her along. So she really is a visionary, and we're really happy to have her out here. We are part of her federal grant called Spreading the Canopy, which is just part of the story that she'll share with you right now. Shannon Ramsay.
Thank you, Ray. It's always great to be here, and what an amazing group you are. Very impressed with, it's a fantastic group of influencers, and I see lots of young faces, so that makes me feel like, okay, you guys care about the future, you're going to be leading, and that's a great thing. Anyway, actually, before I get started too far, I do want to disagree with Ray. Ray has been such an amazing visionary and mentor for me and the Sacramento Tree Foundation. And I'm going to talk more about that as I move into this. Trees Forever is celebrating its 25th year this year, and I think Sacramento's, 35? So you guys have some time on us, and of course we all know California is the bellwether state. The Trees Forever mission is similar to Sacramento's, all about planting trees and taking care of the environment while we build community. We planted over 3.4 million trees since starting. Of course, we're a nonprofit. We have a staff of 22, and we do national projects. We assist about 200 communities a year in many different ways. We provide over about 600,000 plus or so in grants to volunteer groups. We've always believed in heavy volunteer engagement, so that's really been core for us. And as someone earlier said in one of the questions and comments, just engaging people hands-on so we all learn as we go. The Spreading the Canopy project was actually inspired by the Sacramento Tree Foundation, because I want you guys to know that Sacramento Tree Foundation absolutely led the nation among nonprofits on trees and public health. There's no question. This was Ray's vision, and of course, as Ray mentioned, Desiree Bachman was hired to run the program, so I really want you guys to understand that you have led the nation on this. So what happened in Iowa, we've had several state initiatives. Well, I was very inspired to tap into some of those, knowing what had happened with Sacramento and California on trees and public health. So we applied to the Forest Service for funding, and that is in collaboration with Sacramento Tree Foundation. Spreading the canopy, basically what the whole project is about is inserting the conversation of trees and public health into the non-traditional areas. And you could see today and hear from the speakers that has happened in California and continues to happen. But that's not happening elsewhere. As Mary knows, Mary's a fantastic voice for this, Mary Northridge, and it's not that easy. We had a symposium in Des Moines, and similar to the Green Print in Sacramento, we've been doing symposiums in the Cedar Rapids area for many years. This is the one in Sacramento, and then we are going to select 3 other communities nationwide. And it's not just about the event, but it's really about how do you insert that message into the public health fields. In Iowa, we have had a special relationship with Blue Zones. Now, how many of you were here last year? Quite a few, so you know that we talked about Blue Zones, and we had Dr. Samsort here from Loma Linda University. And I encourage you to read the book if you haven't. It's a very simple book. It's not, I mean, it's complicated, but it's an easy read, and it's an inexpensive book. It was on the New York Times bestsellers list for a long time. It's remarkable research on pockets of longevity around the world. And Dan Buettner is the researcher that wrote the book and has done all the work on it. And so Wellmark of Iowa decided that they wanted to bring Blue Zones to Iowa. And this isn't happening in every state. It's actually, what you're looking at here is just some of the communities. Wellmark committed $100 million to infuse health and wellness into communities, and they had to compete for it. At the same time, the governor launched a Healthy Estate Initiative. So we had a number of things to build on, and so we started working really hard to get this message into our Healthy Estate Initiative, the Blue Zones Initiative. Of course, one of the huge drivers is obesity in children, and getting kids outdoors is a very obvious link for almost everyone, and adults. Cross-marketing to fitness and recreation. I think our photos kind of regrouped a little bit as they were plugged into the system. Cross-marketing to fitness and recreation, education, nutrition, and mental health. I was very encouraged to see the presentation by our wonderful researcher from Berkeley. Anyway, Linda, sorry, I forgot your name for a minute. Anyway, Linda's presentation showed such integration, and that's fantastic. So again, California, you are definitely being the bellwether, and for how to do that. But of course, I was pretty shocked to see that language on solar panels that could be at the expense of urban forestry or tree canopy in general. Each one of these symposiums brings together a great, wonderful group, steering committee, and we've had the great fortune of having several folks that you guys have also had working here to help us. Mary Northridge is one. Greg McPherson has been one of our long advisors, not just on biking, but Greg has helped us tremendously. And I want to take the opportunity also to give you a little more national perspective on the role of the Forest Service in all this, helping us do this work. The Forest Service really got into urban forestry research because of a couple of visionary policymakers, Senator Daniel Leahy and Sid Yates from Chicago. And I'm sure that they had constituents that were very visionary, and that's actually where Dr. McPherson got his start in Chicago with the climate study there. But because we had those amazing visionary policymakers, we have some of the most amazing research going on, and it's been going on now for over 20 years on the benefits of urban trees, urban forestry, and the urban ecosystem. So I don't think most people realize how phenomenal that is. I mean, I just think it has helped nonprofits, it's helped urban foresters, it's helped Davy, it's helped all the businesses, the nonprofits, the volunteers tremendously. So I can't thank the Forest Service enough, and that, for us, that goes back to Greg McPherson in Chicago. This is a slide I like to use because it was actually in the Des Moines Register, and it's NAMI, the mental health group. They're out for a walk and tying mental health to walking. However, how many of you think that when they scheduled this walk that they actually thought about whether or not it had anything to do with trees? But honestly, would you just go walk on a barren trail? And I think that's the key message I have is how do we insert that so that it becomes more conscious and people don't just take these trees and natural areas for granted. That's really our challenge. From our steering committees that help with the various symposiums, we've learned that there's still a lot of cynics out there. Many of them do not feel the research is transferable. Though I have to say, when Bill Sullivan was out in December at our symposium, we had the president of one of our large school boards there, and she is still beside herself over that research on how views from classrooms impact your ability to learn. And just so, how do you get people to that place where they hear that? Well, it takes a lot of time, doesn't it? It takes a lot of time and effort and bringing people together, long-term relationships. We have so many competing priorities. And what are some of our competing priorities? In the world of urban forestry, I think about engineering, safety, concrete. Those are some of our priorities that often are more important than trees in our neighborhoods and along our streets. But human services in general, and just how a mental health practitioner thinks when it comes to the kinds of resources necessary. So it's a lot to compete with. And then you've got short versus long-term benefits. And ultimately, I think it gets down to really emotion and what moves people emotionally. It's not always we need the research, we need to back it up, but by engaging people, getting them excited, and having people like Mary Northridge, who are in the public health field, tie this in such deep emotional ways. That's really what ultimately moves people. And I think we have a long way to go, but we're on that road. I really believe that. It's important to identify the spark plug in each organization, and I think you guys have seen that. We've had many spark plugs here today from various fields, and we've heard from them. They're here, they're moderating, they're participating, they're presenting. So great job, and lots more on that too, to really stay with this. I think I was talking with someone at break about how often elected officials, those positions change, and sometimes you can have an entirely new council and mayor, right, Sacramento? So you have to be eternally vigilant, and you never know who you're influencing and how far you have to go to get them engaged. We will have this program doing a symposium or some kind of major educational outreach. We'll be providing $10,000 to communities wanting to participate, and it's some of you that are here from other communities in Sacramento. It's very possible that we could have another California community. The deadline is February 28th. We'll be advertising that on the Trees Forever website as well as our National Alliance for Community Trees website. And I want to thank you guys. Here we are doing I don't know if you know this, but Iowa does have the world's largest bike ride across Iowa. It's a community on wheels of 30,000 plus. And there's Greg, Ray Trethway, and Judy was with Ray as well, doing the ride. To the right was the 2013 ride. I heard a lot of comments about how we don't have enough trees. This year, we're going to do a tree team. Let me know if you want to come out. And we're going to take our laser thermometers, and we're going to demonstrate. That's something you can put in your bike jersey. We're going to demonstrate the incredible 30 to 40 degree difference in July on a bike between shade and the pavement. So congratulations to all of you for all the fantastic work you're doing, and let me know if you're interested in helping us recruit other communities. Thank you, Sacramento Tree Foundation and U.S. Forest Service.